My partner is as gentle as a chrysanthemum, yet she allowed her family to set a betrothal gift of 880,000. When I expressed my concerns, she casually remarked, "Wealth and honor are as fleeting as clouds. It's just 880,000. How have you become so materialistic?" Before the wedding, she and her male best friend spent the night on the mountain. I searched for her for an entire day and night without food or drink, only to find them disheveled at the mountain's peak. In response to my anger, she calmly adjusted her clothes and said, "My relationship with Ken is like that of siblings. It's just that those with dirty minds see everything is tainted." On the way back, her male friend pushed me off the cliff to silence me. My partner merely sighed, "He's no longer the man I desire. It's better to say goodbye." The next time I opened my eyes, I found myself back on the day I proposed at her house with an exorbitant dowry. My daughter is the only university student in the village. She's destined to be a golden phoenix. "You can afford a betrothal gift of 880,000, can't you?" The sharp, sarcastic words of my partner's mother, Linda, echoed in my ears. I was momentarily stunned, and when I opened my eyes, I was met with Linda's disdainful gaze. Sitting calmly on the sofa, my partner Lily finally spoke, "Alex, wealth and honor are just as fleeting as a cloud. It's only 880,000. How have you become so materialistic?" Looking at my limbs still intact, I realized I had reincarnated back to the day I proposed at her house with a sky-high dowry. In my previous life, when I heard these words, my heart sank with disappointment. Lily knew my father had been hospitalized recently, causing me financial strain. But during that time, not only did she not contact me, but she also supported her mother's greed when we met. This money nearly drained all of my family's savings. However, upon reflection, my heart ached for Lily. She was born into a family that favored boys over girls, which shaped her quiet and modest demeanor. I knew she wasn't expressing her true feelings, and whatever she wanted, I would fight for it. I had always protected her and watched as she transformed from a self-conscious ugly duckling into a radiant swan. I treated her as my muse, placing her on a pedestal, untouched by the world's grime. I convinced myself that she was merely influenced by her family's manipulations and had temporarily lost the ability to love. So even when faced with a high dowry, I didn't give up on marrying her. I borrowed from Peter to pay Paul, ran around, and finally gathered 880,000, and at last proposed to the woman I loved. But she spent the day before the wedding with her male best friend on the mountain. I was worried about her and searched for her for a day and night, only to witness their affair firsthand. Ultimately, to cover up the scandal, the adulterer pushed me off the cliff, leading to my tragic demise. This time, facing the same heartless mother and daughter, I simply nodded with a smile, "You're right. I shouldn't measure our love with money. Love always feels inadequate. I love Lily, 880,000 is not enough for her. I'm willing to offer double the dowry to marry Lily." The onlookers outside the door gasped in surprise. I smirked internally. Linda had deliberately opened the door to discuss this matter in front of many people, intending to morally pressure me. This time, it should be my turn to stand on the moral high ground. I claimed that the money was all cashed out to show sincerity. I could write an IOU. After all, the contract specifically states, "For marriage only. If we don't get married, it's just a worthless piece of paper." Linda picked up the IOU and examined it closely, her eyes gleaming with greed. But I still underestimated the shamelessness of this family. When Linda saw me cooperating, her smile widened, as if she could already envision a pile of gold coins coming her way. She ordered, "And find a job for our Daniel and buy another house." Her husband, Mark, also nodded in agreement. The villagers peeking at the door bit their silver teeth in jealousy but kept their compliments. "Your Lily is so fortunate to have such a generous and considerate son-in-law." I agreed to Linda's unreasonable requests with a smile. I chuckled internally, "Don't worry, how could I forget to take care of this lazy brother-in-law? I won't let any of you escape." After I proposed to give a double betrothal gift, my so-called mother-in-law had a complete change of heart. Not only did she suggest that I stay for a few days, but she also walked around the village market with me every day. She boasted about the extravagant betrothal gift of 1,760,000 and about Daniel soon having a job and a house in the city. I cooperated fully, continuing to make grand promises, and Linda's grizzled face blossomed with smiles. I secretly noted a few faces filled with jealousy. After all, an enemy's enemy is a friend. Daniel, who was lazy and loved to eat, also clung to me and directly asked me for money whenever he saw me. I took his phone, did some operations, and directly helped him borrow 100,000. Daniel looked at the credited 100,000, his eyes nearly popping out. He ran to the city to spend it without delay. My partner, who was as calm as a chrysanthemum, seemed a bit restless after seeing this. She hinted in various ways that her bag was out of style and was mocked by her friends for her bare neck. But when I offered to buy her one, she refused. She only accepted it, pretending to be aloof after I insisted. She pouted and said, "Since you insist on giving it to me, I'll accept it." Now I understand that she doesn't want less, she wants more. She wants to have her cake and eat it too. This time, I pretended not to understand her rejections and laughed, saying, "Okay, if Lily doesn't like it, I won't buy it." Lily's face immediately turned as ugly as if she had swallowed a fly. She ignored me all day but sneaked into my room at night. She took the bank card on my table. The camera next to it quietly recorded her sneaky appearance. I smiled sarcastically. They really are as nonchalant as a chrysanthemum. This entire family, boasting, eating, drinking, playing around, and buying bags, each of them was focused on their own interests instead of giving me peace and freedom. Until 2 days later, I received a call from my sister. Her voice was filled with fear. "Bro, I feel like someone has been following me lately." I sternly activated the locator stealthily installed on Daniel's phone. Sure enough, it showed that he was moving around the area where my sister rented her house. He really wouldn't mend his ways until he faced his own demise. In my previous life, after I fell off the cliff and died a tragic death, my sister was heartbroken and could hardly eat or sleep. My spirit floated in the air. I saw Lily falsely comforting my sister, but she turned around and slipped a sleeping pill into her drink. I watched with bloodshot eyes as Lily pushed Daniel into my sister's room and laughingly said, "She will be your wife in the future." They took many photos and videos to threaten her. When she woke up and couldn't bear the humiliation, she walked into the cold lake on a rainy night, never to return again. My knuckles were white from the force, and my head was pounding with rage. Can't control your lower body, can you? Might as well cut it off then. I dialed my cross-dressing childhood friend's number. "Bro, I need a favor from you." When my buddy appeared before me in my sister's identical female outfit and makeup, I could barely recognize him. I thought I had gained another sister. No wonder the elderly say having boys and girls is the same. My buddy lifted his delicate finger and threw a playful gesture with his rough voice. "Brother," I slapped him on the head. "I'd love to poison you silent." We had enough roughhousing and got down to business. I deliberately bought a few bottles of good wine and placed them on the table. As expected, Daniel, who hadn't seen much of the world, guzzled down a bottle and even took the rest to go, worried that others would snatch it from him. That evening, a drunken Daniel followed my buddy with lustful intentions. My buddy pretended to be scared and ran into an unmonitored alley in panic. Daniel gave a lewd grin and followed him. From the balcony of an abandoned building across the street, I quietly watched this farce through a telescope. Daniel ambushed my buddy in a corner in an instant, revealing a lewd smile. "He, let brother take good care of you." My buddy trembled as he backed away until he could go no further. Daniel's face was so red with excitement that he ignored that the sister in front of him was even sturdier than him. He pounced like a starving wolf. And then, he touched something even bigger than his. My buddy smiled, showing his gleaming white teeth. "Fancy a duel, darling." Daniel's drunkenness was instantly sobered. "Holy crap, you're a man." He hurriedly let go of his hand and ran. He hadn't run 2 steps when he was picked up by the muscular woman behind him. He was thrown to the ground, and she firmly stepped on his manhood with her studded shoes. There were immediate screams in the alleyway. My buddy slapped his face and said, "I hate it, brother is too weak, can't even bear a few kicks, don't want to play with you anymore." Humph. After saying that, my buddy ran over Daniel's body with a shy gait. The screams grew even louder. After Daniel was taken to the hospital, the doctor sadly informed Linda that Daniel could never be a man again in his life. Linda fainted from crying. My indifferent partner also shed a few tears. After Daniel's accident, his girlfriend's house was surprisingly quiet. Linda washed her face with tears all day long. Mark silently smoked one cigarette after another. Linda wanted to hide the fact that Daniel was castrated from his family, but when she brought Daniel home that night, I spotted Linda's archenemy passing by and deliberately dropped the diagnosis book on the ground. I politely thanked Aunt Jane, who picked up the diagnosis. As expected, the next day, the news about Daniel spread throughout the village. Once Daniel stepped out, a few hooligans at the village entrance were whistling while scanning his lower body. "Yo, Daniel, heard you've been castrated, how are you going to pee from now on? Just squat like a girl, ha ha ha." Daniel's eyes turned blood red as he swung his fists and fought them. He alone couldn't beat those hooligans and was eventually stripped of his pants while they laughed. The hooligans tossed his pants in the air and finally hung them on a big tree at the village entrance. Daniel was humiliated and ran home naked. From then on, he never went out again and spent the whole day locked in his house playing games, taking all his anger out on Linda and Lily. As for why he didn't vent on me, it's because he was still hoping that I, as a big fool, would give him money and help him buy a house. I deliberately played a few notifications of funds being credited to my account, and Daniel was indeed drawn to it when he heard it. "Brother-in-law, how did you manage to make so much money at this time?" I tilted my phone and was evasive with him, then found an excuse to return to my room. And he predictably snuck into my room when I went to the bathroom. My phone wasn't locked, and it so happened to be on the online gambling interface. Looking at how Daniel was treasuring my phone like a precious possession, I knew the fish had taken the bait. Perhaps unable to bear her short-tempered younger brother's scolding, Lily proposed to take a break with her male confidant by going mountaineering this time. She even made up the reason of worrying about her brother to go and pray. In my past life, although I was somewhat jealous, I was more worried about her safety. I deliberately took time off, wanting to accompany her, but she got angry, scolding me that this is her and her confidence girls' night. She is an independent individual, not my accessory, and asked me not to be too controlling. I had to give up and kept reminding her to stay in touch with me. She impatiently waved her hand to agree, but as soon as she went up the mountain, she lost contact. As I anxiously searched for her, she was seeking thrills on the mountain with her male confidant. When I rushed up the mountain, I realized just how much of a fool I had become, but this time, I agreed without hesitation. Seeing that I agreed so readily, Lily felt uneasy and questioned, "Aren't you afraid that it's unsafe for me to go up the mountain? Isn't your male confidant there? I have to respect your independence and won't interfere with your freedom." Lily choked and then started packing her things with a cold snort. I then opened my social app and updated a post. "My girlfriend and her male confidant are going to go hill climbing to clear their minds tomorrow, hoping she will be in a better mood when she comes back." This account was registered on the day I came back to life. The few posts from before were, "Spent 1.76 million on bride price to marry the girl I love the most. Loving not only her but everything about her, saving money to buy a house for my brother-in-law, as well as countless daily expenses for my girlfriend." Every time someone sarcastically commented about my girlfriend, I would argue with them. "I don't believe it, my girlfriend is the best person in the world." The netizens were speechless, all lamenting that this lad is impervious to reason. They all affectionately called me Fei Yang Yang. As a result, I've gained several 100,000 followers. The latest updates suddenly received countless comments. The top comment with the most likes is, "Your girlfriend is going to have a boyfriend soon." I didn't disappoint the curious onlookers. I quickly updated the follow-up to this incident. After calculating the time accurately, I posted a substantial reward for a search online, claiming that my girlfriend and her male confidant had both gone missing, and I detailed my girlfriend's height and weight, the clothes she was wearing that day, her hairstyle, and the color of her backpack. I sought help from people with search and rescue experience, willing to give them a reward of 10,000 yuan. Worried that the civilian search and rescue efforts wouldn't be enough, aside from calling the police, I also phoned the firefighters. That night, Qingleng Mountain was brightly lit. With the help of everyone, we followed the search team who was scouring the mountain with lanterns in a roundup manner and spent over 5 hours looking on the mountain. We found their fallen portable charger in a restricted area of the scenic spot. Half an hour later, we finally found Lily and her male confidant in a deep jungle. I was ecstatic and my eyes shone as I ran over to hug Lily, but as soon as I saw the scene before me, I paused, uttering "ah." I raised my voice, ensuring everyone present could hear. "Lily, why aren't you wearing any clothes?" Ken, why are your clothes gone too?" Startled, Lily hurriedly covered my mouth. She quietly explained, "I took them off because it was too hot." I could feel several sympathetic glances from around me. Still acting oblivious, I continued to question Lily, "Why are there so many red marks on your body? Were you bitten by insects?" Someone's phone rang in the crowd. The ringtone just happened to be that song "Cheating." The lyrics, "Where is the green hat?" echoed at the right moment. Everyone's gaze neatly fell on me. The silence in the air was frightening. The person seemed to want to hang up the phone but in the panic accidentally turned up the volume. The song rang out even louder, deafening. Ken and Lily were both sweating profusely. Annoyed, Lily glared at the crowd. "I behaved properly and uprightly. If you have to think of it this way, then I can't argue anything. I get along with Ken like a brother." Sure enough, dirty-minded people see everything as dirty. After saying that, she ran down the hill in anger, but suddenly seemed to remember something and turned back to command me, "Alex, take off your clothes and give them to me." I was only wearing a thin short-sleeved shirt that was torn and tattered, with scratches from being cut by tree branches while searching for her on the mountain. Just as I was about to take it off for her, a lady beside us couldn't stand it anymore and scolded while pointing at Lily's nose, "The young man was so desperate to find you, but look at you, having an affair with another man in the woods. You. Lily was too infuriated to speak. "I am clear and innocent with Ken," the lady interrupted her with a weird look on her face. "Still Ken, love master, I guess. My vision is 2.0, I saw your red strap hanging on this wild man's belt from afar." Lily couldn't argue with her and burst into tears, running down the hill in a panic. Waiting for her were numerous onlookers who had rushed over after hearing the news. The ones at the front were a few gossiping ladies from the village who disliked Linda the most. They were known as the 4 loudspeakers of the village, and if there was anything they knew, it would be a dereliction of duty if any dog in the village didn't know about it. The moment these nearly 60-year-old women saw Ken, who seemed weak on his feet, and Lily, who was disheveled, their eyes burst with amazing light. Even the row of light bulbs down the hill was dim in comparison to the brightness in their eyes. Lily didn't speak to me all the way home and locked herself in her room as soon as we got back. I was just happy to be free and quickly assured the fans who hadn't made it to the scene that everything was all right. My girlfriend was found by the police and rescue team earlier tonight and is now safely home. She and her male confidant got lost on their way down the mountain and accidentally got into a restricted area. Fortunately, when found, both were in good health, with only minor scratches on their bodies. Thank you to the police, rescue teams, and everyone else involved for their support and concern. My comments section blew up. And you, my friend, are the evergreen in the forest of love brain, the highest number in a deck of cards, McDonald's mascot, Batman's biggest customer, and the backbone of Joker. Brother, you must be hungry. Guess what I picked up? With a picture of a green hat. I didn't respond to these comments but instead began to talk to myself in the comments section. Do you think roses or orchids would be better for our wedding bouquets? I think roses would be nice. They represent our unswerving love. At the same time, the news about the joint search and the on-scene bust had made the hot search that night. Many netizens dug up my girlfriend's personal information and sent their kind regards to her family. The 4 big gossips in the village were very effective, not only spreading the news throughout the village but also creating several different versions. The rumors in the village also made Linda feel disgraced. The family once again barred their door. They dared not to go out, but I did. After I died in my previous life, Lily and Ken used my death to gain popularity and became internet celebrities, disguising themselves as my deeply in love girlfriend and good brother. Even after the traffic decreased, they fabricated a series of evidence to reverse the situation, proving me to be the bad guy. This made numerous netizens sympathize with them and made them popular again. Netizens all blamed me for my demise and began to harass my parents. Coupled with the death of my younger sister, the old folks couldn't bear the series of blows and committed suicide by taking sleeping pills. Looking at the increasingly haggard Lily and her family, I still felt that it was not enough. It is nowhere near the end. Soon, you will miss these days of calm. Linda, seeing that I was not affected by the rumors and still showing a kind love for Lily, finally relaxed. However, she did not know that Lily and Ken were taken away for investigation as soon as they descended the mountain. Because they entered a national protected area, the police carefully checked their phones' chat records and album and asked them to truthfully recount the entire process. All I needed to do was wait at home. I didn't even have to do anything to get a complete chain of evidence. But it's too boring to reveal the evidence now. I'm not done with my fun yet. Seeing that Linda didn't want to go out, I even took the initiative to help her with grocery shopping. The moment I stepped out of the house, I became the center of attention for the entire village. Countless gossiping eyes fell on me, and not a few nosy people openly or covertly tried to get information from me. I smiled happily and told them that I trust Lily's character. She was merely mountain climbing with her male confidant, so everyone shouldn't speculate maliciously. My words of clarification, which in reality only served to worsen the situation, convinced everyone of the authenticity of the scandal. Wherever I go, people give me either gloating or sympathetic looks. Even several old ladies recommended their daughters to me in secret. Lad, listen to this old lady's advice. Lily is not a good girl. Why don't you consider my daughter? She's hardworking and capable, far better than Lily. I politely declined with a determined look in my eyes. Old lady, don't persuade me. Even if everyone says so, I still believe in Lily. She would never betray me. We still hope to have you at our wedding. The old lady was speechless, and in the end, all she could give was a sigh. When I returned to my girlfriend's house after a stroll outside, I happened to bump into Linda as she hurried into Lily's room. I kept a normal expression and cheerfully greeted Linda before returning to my room and quietly turned on my phone. The recording device in Lily's room finally came in handy. Her anxious voice came through the phone. Mom, what should I do? I'm pregnant, and it's Ken's. Even though I was mentally prepared, at the moment I heard it, my heart still ached. Linda slapped her, her tone suggesting a sense of disappointment. You foolish girl, where can we find another fool like Alex? Are you trying to ruin us? If the bride price and your brother's house slip away from us, I'll kill you. Mom. Lily covered her face with her hand in pain. Soon, Linda had made up her mind. After all, the pregnancy is at an early stage. We'll just pass it off as his and take the opportunity to propose moving up the wedding to avoid any potential problems. I'm really going to be driven to my death by you, you money-losing thing. Luckily, that lad's a fool, otherwise, I'd sell you to an old bachelor in the mountains to swap for your brother's house. I started laughing as I listened. It's really ridiculous. This is the woman I protected all my life in my previous life. The voices discussing over the phone gradually faded, and not long after, Linda dragged Lily over to knock on my door. When I heard that Lily was pregnant, I aptly feigned an ecstatic look. This is wonderful, Lily. I'm going to be a dad. Linda took the opportunity to propose moving up the wedding, claiming that it would not look good wearing a wedding dress in the later stages of pregnancy. I agreed without hesitation. It's about time to end this play. After all, it's getting nauseating to keep acting. Satisfied with the answer they wanted, mother and daughter left with satisfaction. I then opened a WeChat conversation with Ken's wife. The invitation has been sent. It was a pleasure working with you, Anna. Anna sent me a handshake emoji. Anna is a gold digger of the Anna group. It wasn't easy for Ken to marry her, and he carefully spends every day as a stay-at-home husband. On the surface, Ken is gentle and heeds only to Anna. In actuality, he secretly shifts assets from the Anna group. Besides having an affair with Lily, he also keeps several mistresses. The evidence collected by my private detective is overwhelming. I sent it all to Anna to show my sincerity in seeking cooperation. Anna has helped me a lot in my revenge. With Anna's support, I believe that the drama at the wedding will be particularly exciting. A few days before the wedding, Linda broke the norm and brought her precious son along. She brought him over to me with a flattering smile, greed flickering in her eyes as she rubbed her hands together like a fly. Son-in-law, you previously promised to buy a house for Daniel. I have consulted a master who said that today is a lucky day. I looked at Daniel, who was sitting on the sofa with bloodshot eyes due to gambling. With a slight smile, I replied, okay. Upon hearing my answer, Linda once again got excited. She bought a long string of firecrackers and set them off from 12 midnight until 3 in the morning. She made sure everyone knew that this fool agreed to buy a house for her beloved son. It wasn't until the neighbors accused her of disturbance that she stopped. The next day, the whole family happily accompanied me to the property sales office. I picked a spacious flat worth over $1 million with a wave of my hand. Linda couldn't hide her excitement as she touched and examined every corner of the flat, eventually taking a bunch of pictures with her phone. Lily was also a bit envious. She pouted and pulled the corner of my clothes and casually said, I've never lived in such a good house, maybe I'm just not that fortunate. I understood her hint and gave a meaningful glance to her belly. Don't worry, how could I possibly forget about you? Lily thought I understood her hint, and a smug smile appeared at the corner of her mouth. When handling the procedures, I applied for a zero down payment policy using Daniel's ID. The lower the down payment, the higher the monthly installments. But hey, what's a little more debt? This family didn't understand the scheme, kept calling me a good brother-in-law and good son-in-law, grinning from ear to ear. When I claimed not to have the money for the handling fee after paying the down payment, Linda bit the bullet and made up for the several tens of thousands of UN of handling fees just to avoid any mishap. She thought she got a great deal, but she didn't realize that it was all in vain. Originally, I wanted Anna to bring Ken to the wedding on the wedding day. Unexpectedly, Lily shamelessly requested Ken to be the best man. I was shocked by the shamelessness of these two people, and my expression was momentarily uncontrollable. Through the chat record of the two synchronized tablets, I learned that Lily wanted the father of her child to give her away at the wedding. Both Anna and I were utterly disgusted. Were we all part of their game? When we came for the wedding procession, the bridesmaids that Lily had invited blocked the door. My brothers and I wisely handed over the red envelopes. The lead bridesmaid weighed the red envelope in her hand, and toothed with disdain written all over her face, I thought you loved Lily a lot, you're really stingy, only a 500 red packet per person. I put on a smiling face and with sincerity filling my eyes, then how much do you think I should give? The bridesmaid wagged a finger. One of my brothers behind me took over the conversation, 8,000. She sneered, 10,000 per person. You said you love Lily, right? Then prove it to us. I was patient throughout the entire process, respectfully supplementing the money. Only then did the bridesmaids smile contentedly. Looking at their greedy faces, I couldn't help but sigh, what birds of a feather. I raised my lips. Little did they know that the person taking photos behind me wasn't recording a video but live streaming on the internet. When Lily walked towards me in her magnificent wedding dress, I was momentarily dazed. She was as beautiful as I had imagined countless times. I worshipped her as a goddess, but she was a cold-blooded snake, devouring and drinking the blood of our family. I lowered my eyes, hiding the hatred in them. When I looked up again, my eyes were filled with profound affection. The host said a few auspicious words, and we quickly moved on to the next segment, playing sweet memories of the groom and bride's initial meeting, knowing each other, and falling in love. Along with the touching BGM, many emotional relatives and friends turned away to wipe away their tears secretly. Lily was also somewhat moved, with tears twinkling in her eyes. I glanced at Ken in his best man's outfit beside me and felt the irony. Halfway through the progress bar, the atmosphere abruptly changed. Lily and Ken's ambiguous voices echoed in every corner of the wedding, followed by the explicit chat logs of their 4-year relationship. Ironically, Lily and I had only been together for 5 years. It ended with a recording of Lily and Linda making me the fall guy and the detailed plan of Lily intentionally revealing my sister's rental address for Daniel to harass my sister. The overflow of information plunged the scene into deathly silence. Lily screamed aloud, lunging forward to turn off the screen. But how could she stop so many recordings and live streams at the scene? It's nothing but a desperate struggle. The viewers in the live room began to furiously swipe the screen. Lily's and Ken's names rushed to the trending hashtag LilyKenCheating hashtag VampireFamily. The comment section was quickly overwhelmed by netizens. People who betray true love should swallow 10,000 needles. My goodness, are these deeds done by humans? Feel sorry for the brother, a real fool. I lived in the same village as her younger brother, who was sent to a juvenile detention center as a minor and became even worse as he grew up. The girls in the village would stay far away from him. Oh God, I can't bear to imagine, if it wasn't for his accidental gelding, he might have ruined a girl's life. How did he become gelded? Does anyone know the details? There was an uproar among the guests. I smiled bitterly, shaking all over with anger, pointing at Lily. My voice choked. Lily, I trusted you so much, loved you so much. How could you do this to me? Ah, say something. Where have I wronged you? You strategized against our whole family. 3 golden gifts for the betrothal gifts, not a single one I gave less than you. I helped find a house and a job for your brother without a word. You and your best male friend went hiking. You said you two were innocent, and I believed it. What did I get in return? Say something. Finally, I asked, as if draining all of my strength, shedding blood like tears. Lily, do you have a heart? Lily suddenly slumped to the ground, crying like a misty rain, disgracefully tugging at the hem of my pants. It's not like that, someone is trying to harm me. It's all P.ed. Alex, do you believe me? I kicked her away with one foot, closing my eyes and not wanting to have another look at her. My heart had long been shattered when I fell off the cliff in my past life. Seeing the situation go south, Ken tried to sneak off stage. Anna, who was watching the fun from the audience, wasn't going to let him go. She stormed the stage with a few hefty security guards. With a swift and sharp movement, she slapped Ken 10 times, causing his face to swell like a pig's head. Seeing the raging anger in Anna's eyes, Ken was so frightened that he started shaking. In haste, he pointed at Lily. Darling, it's her, she seduced me. Lily looked at him in disbelief. Ken, you're talking nonsense. Ken interrupted her, grabbed Lily's hair, and started raining blows on her. It's all your fault. If it wasn't for your seduction, how could I betray my beloved wife? A man's strength is much greater than a woman's. He had pulled off a patch of Lily's scalp, and blood was visible on her face. She looked utterly disheveled. After attacking Lily, Ken quickly put on a smiling face and knelt down in front of Anna. Darling, I made a mistake just this once, please forgive me. I'll behave in the future. Anna laughed. Under Ken's hopeful gaze, she threw the evidence of him secretly transferring the company's assets onto his face. She waved at the security guards behind her, her tone as cold as ice. Beat him. Beat him hard. Linda and Mark were startled by this scene and wanted to hide with Daniel, but they ran straight into a few muscular men with tattoos. Yo, what's the big deal? Daniel's face went pale, and he turned to flee. The leading big brother kicked him to the ground. Little rabbit, pay back quickly, or I'll skin you. Seeing her son being attacked, Linda was heartbroken. She said trembling, don't hit my son. How much does he owe? I'll pay it back. 1,076,000. Linda was so frightened that she sat down on the ground. After looking around, she crawled towards me. Son-in-law, you can't ignore Daniel. Lily just made a little mistake. You love her so much, you will surely forgive her. I'll take care of the bastard, and she can give birth to a chubby boy for your family. I sneered and said word by word, you're really shameless. I shrugged her off and left the chaotic wedding hall. Since the police had a complete chain of evidence, in addition to my own transfer records and the video of Lily secretly swiping my bank card, I smoothly recovered all the money I had spent. Afterwards, I didn't pay attention to the fate of this family. But the old friends who were still inside eating melons and Aunt Jane, who lived next door to Linda, wouldn't let me miss the heartwarming follow-up. The girlfriend's family couldn't repay the huge debt and were pelted with paint by debt collectors every day, so they were scared to leave the house. Daniel couldn't afford the high mortgage and became a person of dishonest credit. He completely fell apart and later took all the money at home and fled to another province. Linda and Mark had to sell their house for their son's mess and work 3 jobs every day to pay off their debt. Lily's reputation was completely ruined. She was fired from the company, and other companies also expressed their unwillingness to accept such a morally depraved person. Under the pointing fingers of the villagers and the overwhelming internet exposure, she became mentally unstable. It was said that she was almost insane. She would often mutter, "It wasn't like this in my past life." One day, while Linda and Mark were washing dishes at a restaurant, they received a phone call from the police station. They were asked to identify a corpse. It turned out to be Daniel, whom they hadn't seen for a long time. The money Daniel took was soon spent. God knows what he was thinking. He actually robbed a bank and took hostages. After multiple warnings and no response, he was shot on the spot. Linda and Mark are now impoverished, unable to even afford a coffin. They simply sold the mentally unstable Lily at a low price to an old bachelor in the neighboring village for coffin money. As for the traitorous Ken, I heard about it in passing from Anna. He not only lost everything but was also sentenced to 3 years for embezzling public funds. After being released from prison, he couldn't find a job. Not learning from his past misconduct, he thought of living on his looks again and became a gigolo in a nightclub. 3 years passed in the blink of an eye, and my sister-in-law successfully graduated from her master's program. On the day of her graduation ceremony, I received a strange phone call. Even before Rory had spoken yet, my sixth sense told me it was Lily. A hoarse sob came from the earpiece. Alex, I was wrong. Please save me, please. My parents sold me to the old bachelor in the neighboring village, and he beats me at the slightest disagreement. I'm living a life worse than death. Please, for the sake of old times, save me once. I replied blandly, I am no longer the young man I used to care so much about. It's good to part ways now. Lily was taken aback, you're reborn. Before I could respond, there were hurried footsteps and yelling on the other end, bitch, you dare to run? I'll kill you. I hung up the phone. At the ceremony, my sister was wearing a master's gown, smiling like a flower. The sunlight spilled on her shoulders. It was beautiful. After the heartfelt confession, Lily was always preoccupied. She was the beloved princess adored by everyone, constantly needing to socialize, dance, and host gatherings. Naturally, she didn't have time for trivial matters with me. It was always her sister, Mia, who was asked to accompany me in her stead. Even before the wedding, on the day of the wedding dress fitting, Lily was busy supporting her cherished musician boyfriend and sent Mia over instead. I'm about the same size as Lily, let her try it for me, she said. Later, when she finally finished her commitments and came to find me, she happened to bump into Mia knocking on my door late at night. Brother-in-law, open the door. It's me, your sister, she exclaimed, furious. I was holding Mia and chuckling softly. Lily, don't make a fuss, you always lie to me. My sister's figure is much better than yours. On the day of the wedding dress fitting, Lily did not show up at the boutique. I sat quietly on the sofa, watching the door, hoping that Lily would push it open, step in front of me, and wear the wedding dress we had chosen together. Unfortunately, for 3 long hours, that door remained closed. It was 3 hours later that I received a call from Lily. Ethan, I have something urgent today. I can't go to try on the wedding dress. I've asked Mia to go, her figure is similar to mine, so don't worry. The words I wanted to say, the questions I wanted to ask, were stuck in my throat. Okay, I replied softly, followed by the sound of the phone hanging up. The lights in the boutique were blinding, so bright that my vision blurred, leaving only a white haze. I couldn't even hear the whispers of the shop assistants clearly. I had liked Lily for 10 years. From the moment we met, when she gave me a piece of candy, she left a permanent mark on my fragile heart. I was a sickly child, my health poor since childhood, so I didn't have many friends. Occasionally, I was mocked by other kids, which made me very withdrawn. I was dull, didn't like to talk, and avoided interacting with people. My only friend was a golden retriever I had rescued. Lily was the first person to take the initiative to talk to me. Once, when I was about to faint from low blood sugar, she offered me a piece of orange-flavored candy, which was filled with sweetness the moment I put it in my mouth. She smiled like a fairy from a storybook, reaching out to me, asking, "Is it sweet?" Very sweet. That piece of candy was the sweetest memory of my childhood. Lily was also the only bright presence in my early years. She would walk the dog with me, share half of her favorite cake, and stand up for me when others laughed at me. She always appeared when I needed her most, pulling me out of the mire. But childhood and growing up are always different. Lily was cheerful and lively, like a little sun, always attracting many people. As a result, the time she spent with me became less and less. Her life was filled with other pleasures and people, so much so that even the day we agreed to try on the wedding dress was missed. The door of the boutique opened, and Mia walked in, wearing high heels, standing in front of me. Ethan, my sister asked me to try on the wedding dress for her. I nodded, and the attendant led Mia into the dressing room. In a short while, the curtain opened, and Mia emerged in a white floor-length fishtail dress. Her long hair was casually tied up, with 2 strands of wavy hair framing her face. Her skin was fair, her eyes sparkling. She wore no jewelry, yet she looked beautiful and elegant. Mia came to my side, looking at us in the mirror. She smiled faintly. "This wedding dress matches your suit." I was about to nod in agreement. This was the wedding dress I had designed myself, specially customized for my wedding with Lily. But then she spoke again, "But this wedding dress doesn't really suit Lily." I looked at her in the mirror, surprised. For a moment, I didn't understand what she meant. Mia continued, "Lily is lively, she is the little princess held in her parents' hands, so she prefers dresses with large skirts. Ethan, this wedding dress and her, they don't really match." Mia's words shocked me. In my impression, she was a very cold person, rarely speaking or interacting with others. When Lily took me to her house to play when we were young, Mia was always busy. If she wasn't playing the piano, she was dancing, filling her days with activities. In contrast, her sister, who was only 2 years younger, seemed particularly carefree. As for me, Mia hardly spoke to me. Our first exchange was also because of Lily. That day was my regular checkup every 3 months. Lily promised to go with me, but that day she stood me up. She didn't tell me why nor that she had asked Mia to accompany me. So when Mia showed up at the hospital, I was surprised. She was calm, took the form from my hand, and walked toward the examination room on her own. That day, Mia accompanied me all day, asking the doctor about every examination in great detail, so carefully that some questions she asked I hadn't even thought of myself. It wasn't until all the examinations were over and she heard the doctor say that everything was healthy, just a bit weak, that she breathed a sigh of relief. Mia brushed her hair behind her ear and handed me the folded form. Her soft voice was particularly pleasing. "Ethan, take good care of your health." I nodded. "You went to a lot of trouble today." Mia nodded back, smiling, and said, "Why don't you treat me to a meal?" In my surprise, I agreed to her request. After all, a whole day of examinations was indeed tiring. That day was the first time I had dinner with a girl other than Lily. Mia was indeed very different from Lily. She didn't talk incessantly during meals, nor did she always have a lively smile on her face. If Lily was a lively fairy, then Mia was like a moon goddess, noble and cold. After trying on the wedding dress, Mia didn't leave straight away as she used to. She leaned lazily against her car, letting the slight evening breeze blow through her hair. "Ethan, why don't you come with me to a place? Maybe it can clear up your doubts." I looked at her, and she looked at me too. The difference was that I was surprised she could think of what I was thinking, and in her eyes, there was a teasing, elusive smile. Mia seemed sure of my thoughts, opened the car door, and got in. Indeed, she guessed right. I really wanted to know. I got in the passenger seat. We were in sync, not talking all the way. I didn't ask her where she wanted to go, and she didn't ask me why I chose to believe her. So we drove in silence, with only the sound of the wind whistling by. The car stopped by the sea, and I saw Lily, who had stood me up. She was barefoot on the soft sand, singing a beautiful song with a microphone in her hand, her gaze soft as water, falling on the boy playing the guitar next to her. Their eyes met, turning into silent tenderness. I don't know why, but I felt they were a strangely good match, a lively and cute girl and a sunny guitar boy. Indeed, they seemed a better match than a dull and weak boy. At the end of a love song, the people around cheered and clapped, shouting loudly, "Kiss! Kiss!" Lily smiled, tiptoed, and gave the boy a light kiss on the lips. She looked at him shyly and said softly, "Happy birthday, Alex." Compared to the bustle over there, it was very quiet here. I even felt a bone-chilling cold all over my body. Mia's soft voice sounded more like a tease. "I told you, your wedding dress doesn't match her." I turned my head. "Let's go." Mia seemed surprised. "Aren't you going to ask a question?" I shook my head. Knowing the answer is enough. In fact, I had known it for a long time. Every time Lily stood me up, it was for the same person, a man named Alex. He was Lily's college classmate, not only handsome but also very good at playing the guitar, a popular figure in their school. They prepared for the school celebration together, performed on stage together, and were jokingly referred to as a golden boy and jade girl by their classmates. When such words reached my ears, Lily would hug me and kiss me twice, saying, "Ethan, don't listen to them. In my heart, only you and I are the best match." But when she said this, she was still wearing the bracelet that Alex had given her, a simple string sought from the most popular temple, said to bring safety. The little princess, who always liked pearls and jewels, changed her usual delicate demeanor and wore the bracelet on her hand. She told me, after all, it's someone's intention, it's not good to disappoint. And this bracelet, she had been wearing it ever since, never taking it off. On the way back, Mia was still the one driving me. Halfway through, she suddenly spoke. "Ethan, have you thought it through?" I was stunned for a moment and asked, "What?" Mia stopped the car and looked at me sideways. Her expression was as serious as the first time I saw her looking at the piano sheet music. "Ethan, have you thought about marrying Lily?" Such a question left me speechless. Once, I was absolutely sure that Lily was my bride. I had fantasized countless times about her walking toward me step by step in a white wedding dress. But now, I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure if her heart was still with me, if she still wanted to be my bride as she used to. After a moment of silence, Mia's voice rang out again, very light, very soft, very firm. "Ethan, why don't you consider me? In fact, I'm a better match for you." The moonlight shone through the car window onto her face, falling into her eyes, and she just looked at me quietly. I don't know why, but at that moment, my heart skipped a beat. The image of Mia in that wedding dress standing next to me came to mind. She did seem to be a better fit for the fishtail wedding dress I designed. Not long after I got home, Lily's call came in. "Ethan, open the door." When I opened the door, Lily had already changed her clothes. The blue skirt she wore while singing on the beach had been replaced with a white princess dress. She was holding a cake, and the moment I opened the door, she stood on tiptoe and hugged me. "Good, Ethan. Do you miss me?" She didn't notice that this time I didn't wrap my arms tightly around her waist. Lily let go of me and walked straight in, opened the strawberry cake, and looked at me with her cheek resting in her hand. I also went to sit opposite her. The strawberry cake seemed particularly glaring at this moment. "Is this Alex's birthday cake?" Lily was stunned, instantly panicked, her face turning pale. "Ethan, let me explain," I said softly. "Explain what?" "Explain that you went to Alex's birthday today, disregarding our appointment to try on wedding dresses, or explain the kiss on the beach with Alex." I lowered my eyes and then looked up at the bright full moon hanging outside the window. "Lily, have you forgotten? Today is the 5-year anniversary of us being together. That's why I chose to try on wedding dresses today." Originally, I wanted to add a touch of romance and happiness to our 5 years of relationship. I didn't expect it would end up against my wishes. Lily was completely stunned, her eyes turning red in an instant. She subconsciously wanted to hold my hand, but I avoided it. Her hand hanging in midair trembled slightly before dropping helplessly. "Ethan, I'm sorry." I looked at her with sorrow and heartache in my eyes and spoke very calmly. "Lily, let's break up. When you chose to leave me for another man over and over again, your heart had already changed, hadn't it? 5 years ago today, we fell in love with each other, so we chose to be together. But 5 years later today, our feelings have been mixed with impurities, they are no longer pure, so we should part ways." Looking at how calm I was, Lily knew I was serious. The night was quiet. Lily got up in a daze, not daring to look into my eyes. She just said softly, "Ethan, I'll go first. I'll come to you after you've calmed down." And so, she hurriedly disappeared into the night. The gradually fading shadow also disappeared from my sight bit by bit. It's midnight. Our love will become a thing of the past. People always like to reminisce about the past when they lose something. I don't know why, but I suddenly thought of the past when Lily was full of me in her heart and eyes. Back then, she would wait for me at the door of my classroom after school, affectionately holding my arm without caring about the eyes of others. She would openly express her love for me, standing at the school gate, holding a bunch of bright sunflowers and yelling my name loudly, "Ethan, you will always be the best in my heart. I love you." Lily loves Ethan. Even if the teacher was standing there, she was still flamboyant and confident, running down the long road holding my hand. The gentle setting sun shone on her radiant smile and also on my pounding heart. I thought she would keep holding my hand through sunrise and sunset, spring and autumn. Unfortunately, she met Alex in college. The first time I saw Alex was at the rehearsal for their school's anniversary celebration. He took off his coat and put it on Lily's lap, laughing brightly as he said to me, "Lily really is a special girl. She's lively, cheerful, confident, and bright, always able to attract people's attention unintentionally. To be honest, I'm very envious of you for having her." Alex looked at me with sincere eyes, without any hint of provocation or instigation. But from that moment on, I felt a sense of unease in my heart. Out of a man's intuition, I was absolutely certain that he liked Lily. Now it seems I didn't guess wrong, but I didn't guess completely right either. I never thought that Lily would have feelings for Alex. I thought that we had known each other for 10 years and been in love for 5 years, and our relationship was already unbreakable. Only now do I understand that love is so fragile. Lily seemed to have completely forgotten about that day. She knocked on my door early the next morning with my favorite toast bread. "Ethan, I know you love the toast from this place, so I went to buy it early in the morning." She pulled me to sit at the dining table and carefully spread strawberry jam on the toast for me. When she handed it to me, there was a hopeful glimmer in her eyes. I looked at her, and in the end, I took the toast. Visibly, Lily let out a sigh of relief. She was back to being cheerful and happy, with the same smile on her face as before. Lily loves to smile, and I love her smile. But at this moment, I couldn't feel happy about getting her smile anymore. Because I knew clearly that everything she was doing now was to make up for the broken promise that day, to make up for the changed sincerity. But these days, in a daze, made me think we were still the same as before. In our life, there had never been a person named Alex. Almost, I thought I could grab my happiness again. That evening, Lily received a call. In just a moment, her relaxed and cheerful expression became serious, full of worry. After hanging up the phone, she hurriedly changed her shoes and went out. But at the moment of opening the door, she remembered me, busy cooking a table of dishes in the kitchen. She said, "Ethan, I have some urgent matters to deal with. I'll be back soon. You don't have to wait for me, eat first." She left in a hurry, not caring about my pale face or waiting for my response. What she left me with was just the sound of the door slamming. After Lily left, I sat at the dining table in a daze. The table full of carefully prepared meals was hard to swallow at this moment. I don't know how long I sat there. Anyway, when the knock on the door sounded, the food on the table had already cooled down. Mia came, holding a bottle of champagne. I was a bit surprised, looking at the exquisite woman in front of me. I didn't have much to do with her. Every time we met, she was there to accompany me instead of Lily. Once, she accompanied me to the hospital, once to try on the wedding dress, and then there was the time when Mia accompanied me to the designer's dinner. That time, Mia was also dressed up, beautiful as if the moon goddess had descended. She gently held my arm and talked with the other designers with ease. She seemed to be very good at socializing and knew a lot about design. Mia could always perfectly convey my design concepts and ideas to others in a few words, and even some small insights she proposed would add a finishing touch to the already good works. Mia looked at my exhibited works and sincerely exclaimed, "Your works always resonate with me deep inside, they are amazing. Ethan, you are a great designer." At that time, some people thought she was my girlfriend and praised me for having a soulmate. I was at a loss, but she just smiled at me. After the banquet, I apologized to her. Mia, they misunderstood, I'm sorry for the inconvenience. But Mia just swirled her wineglass and smiled charmingly. I don't find it inconvenient, Ethan. Mia walked straight in, took off her beautiful high heels, and stepped barefoot on the soft carpet. She waved the champagne at me. Maybe you'd want to have a drink. I was a bit incredulous. Did you come all this way just to have a drink with me? Mia opened the champagne on her own, took out 2 wine glasses from the cabinet, poured herself a glass, and drank it all. I think you probably need alcohol to get drunk today. She was right. Lily went to find Alex again. She received that call, thinking I didn't hear it in the kitchen. Although it was intermittent, I understood 7 or 8 points. Alex was sick, lying at home, refusing to go to the hospital. It was his friend who called Lily, hoping she could persuade Alex. There was one sentence I heard very clearly: Lily, you know Alex always listens to you the most. Just like that, a simple sentence instantly destroyed the illusion of a good time, leaving me alone, still immersed in the memories of the past. It's a bit funny. I took the wine glass from Mia and clinked glasses with her. The crisp sound of glass collision made the liquid ripple. Before long, I felt dizzy. I rarely drank before. Mia suddenly leaned in close to me, putting her hand on my shoulder. Her delicate features were gorgeous and extraordinary, the tear mole at the corner of her eye making her look cold and noble. Because of the slight drunkenness, it added a few unintentional charms. I stood there, staring at her in a daze. But she hugged my neck and got closer to me, asking softly, Ethan, do you think I'm pretty? Her breath was right in front of me, hot and burning. For some reason, I nodded involuntarily. Mia smiled, her voice like a charm. Why don't we sleep together tonight? Mia kissed my lips, passionate and lingering, holding my face, making me look at her. Ethan, look at me closely. I'm not worse than her, I'm better suited for you. Mia's hand unbuttoned my shirt one by one, wrapping around my waist. The shirt scattered on the floor, and her aqua blue dress mixed together, ambiguous and entangled, filling the room with charm. The moonlight coming in from the window shone on our tightly hugging bodies, making the ambiguous atmosphere clearer. Mia pressed against me tightly, whispering softly, Can I, Ethan? I nodded and carried her into the bedroom. When I woke up, it was already noon. The warm sunlight came in through the thin window gauze and fell on Mia, who was lying obediently in my arms like a gentle kitten. She rubbed her sleepy eyes. Are you awake? I was about to nod when the bedroom door was pushed open. Lily stood at the door, her eyes red with anger. What are you doing? Ethan, what are you doing? She looked at me, and I looked at her. But Mia was calm. She climbed on my neck and kissed my mouth, seemingly deliberate, revealing the traces of last night's madness in front of Lily. She raised her eyebrows at Lily, her lips curling up. Isn't it obvious what we're doing? Lily, from now on, Ethan is your brother-in-law. Lily, like a statue, stood there in a daze. A moment later, tears flowed uncontrollably. She pointed at me, then at Mia. You too. Mia, how can you flirt with your own sister's boyfriend? You have no shame. I'm going to have Dad kick you out of the family. Mia laughed coldly, her provocative gaze gradually sinking, replaced by undisguised coldness and hatred. Lily, it's you who didn't cherish, don't blame me. You don't deserve Ethan's affection for you all these years. You always liked me to replace you to accompany Ethan, right? Then I'll replace you completely and stay by his side forever. Also, remember, we are not real sisters, we are just half-sisters with the same father. Besides, the family belongs to my mother, it has nothing to do with you or your mother, who is the mistress. Mia's voice was very soft and calm, but it was still like a thunderbolt, making the tense atmosphere instantly quiet and silent. I seemed to feel that when she was speaking, her hand hidden in the quilt was trembling involuntarily. Especially when she mentioned her mother, Lily clenched her fists and turned to look at me. 2 lines of tears flowed down her cheeks, she looked really pitiful. Ethan, you heard it. She deliberately seduced you, she is retaliating against me. Retaliating against my mom. Ethan, she doesn't like you at all. I shook my head, picked up the pants on the floor, and put them on, standing in front of Lily. I said seriously, Lily, we have already broken up, it has nothing to do with her. Just in the previous days, I thought we could get back together, but unfortunately, you still can't let go of Alex. You left me again for him, so there's no need for us to continue entangling. Let's part on good terms, Lily. Lily turned pale, trembling as she screamed, Ethan, who wants to part on good terms with you? You can only be mine. Lily left crying, and Mia hugged me from behind, whispering my name, Ethan. I pulled her hand away, picked up a large dress, and wrapped her in it. You've achieved your goal, Mia. Mia frowned, looking at me with pursed lips, and said in a deep voice, Ethan, I didn't use you, I'm sincere to you. Saying that, she paused, her cold hand gently pulling up my hand. Ethan, you believe me. I stared into her eyes, seeing only sincere affection in her gaze, without a trace of falsehood. It turns out that as long as the lie is serious enough, even the eyes can deceive people. I withdrew my hand and stepped back. The sunlight shone on her face, soft and beautiful, but but through the gauze, it broke into pieces. Mia told me about the family, about the deepest secret hidden in her heart. Originally, they were a happy family of 3, but unfortunately, when she was 5 years old, her mother died in a car accident. Mia was very sad. She stayed by her mother's coffin for 7 days, crying for more than 7 days. Less than 3 months later, her father brought home the woman and daughter he had kept outside. Her so-called sister was already 3 years old. Because of Lily's arrival, Mia was forced to move out of her spacious and exquisite bedroom and into the guest room. The home that originally belonged to her became a paradise for other people's laughter and joy. Mia accidentally overheard her father and stepmother's conversation and learned that her mother's car accident was a joint plot by her father and stepmother to seize the company and property left by her grandfather to her mother. Since the age of 5, she learned to read people's faces, knowing that she was young and weak at the time, so she could only suppress her overwhelming hatred and live with the wolves. However, since then, she could no longer have a happy childhood. She had to study harder, excel in everything, gain her father's praise, and step by step into the company to secure the position of general manager. As she spoke, I suddenly remembered some past events. In childhood, when I went to the family to find Lily, Mia was quietly sitting in front of the piano practicing her pieces. The dress she wore was an old model from a few years ago, a bit too small for her. The shoes on her feet were also slightly damaged. In contrast, Lily, who was wearing the latest princess dress, was indeed a princess surrounded by stars. At that time, when Lily saw me staring at Mia, she pulled me to go upstairs. When she mentioned her sister, her tone was mostly disdainful. She is just a bookworm, ignore her. She studies so hard just to make Dad happy, but no matter how hard she tries, I'm still Dad's favorite daughter. Saying that, she took out a bag of dog food. Ethan, I heard this is the best dog food, you take it back for Cheddar. Cheddar was the golden retriever I picked up. After Mia finished speaking, her eyes were already moist. Maybe it was because she remembered her mother, who passed away early. I didn't speak, and there was only silence between us again. After a while, Mia stood up, and the look in her eyes toward me was one of sorrow. Ethan, so you don't believe me? It was not a question but a certainty, so she didn't say much this time. She took her things and left my house. The moment the door closed, the room was incredibly quiet. So quiet that I could clearly hear my own heartbeat. The meal that had been sitting there since last night was already cold, just like my heart and my past. I don't know what Mia was thinking. She moved out of the family and next door to me. The house that had always been empty suddenly had people, but she didn't come to my house again, and we basically didn't meet. She was busy with her work, going out early and returning late every day, and I was also busy with my career, working hard to participate in the designer competition. I successfully participated in the competition and won the silver award. Not only that, my work was also noticed by a well-known brand, which decided to sign a contract with me and planned to develop a sub-brand based on my work. The sudden surprise caught me off guard, but I still accepted this contract. Next, I was even busier. The new brand needed new works, and I was immersed in creation every day, just hoping not to disappoint the people who valued me. So when Lily and Alex came to find me, I was very surprised. He was still wearing a casual t-shirt and ripped jeans, not much different from the young and sunny boy 2 years ago, even a little more mature. But Lily, who had always loved beauty, looked a little haggard and tired, with dark circles under her eyes. Alex got straight to the point. I know you have some misunderstandings about my relationship with Lily, but I still need to explain to you that we are innocent. I frowned slightly. I didn't know how he had the nerve to say the word innocent. Innocent enough to kiss in a crowd. He seemed to see through my disgusted look and coughed awkwardly, covering his mouth. Lily quickly stepped forward and grabbed my hand. Ethan, believe me, I truly love you. Mia wants revenge. She hates my mom for stealing my dad, so she wants to use the same method to get back at me. Don't be deceived by her. She's not serious about you, you're just a tool for her revenge. She doesn't have you in her heart at all. I promise I will never leave you again. I will love you well. Ethan, give me another chance, okay? Lily's voice was especially clear in the quiet room, word by word, like countless tiny needles piercing my heart. The beautiful days of the past were shattered at this moment. I suddenly felt regretful. The memories I once cherished disappeared. Originally, I never regretted falling in love with Lily. Over the years, the happiness and joy she brought me were real, and so was love. So I wanted to start over with the beautiful memories of the past. But now, she had destroyed my last beauty. It was only now that I understood that in Lily's eyes, I was never a precious existence. I withdrew my hand from her tight grip and stepped back 2 steps. There's no possibility between us. Lily was stunned for a moment, staring at her empty hand, tears falling instantly. She choked and asked me, is it because of Mia? Are you in love with her? I sighed softly and shook my head. It has nothing to do with her. Lily, you destroyed our years of feelings with your own hands. You are ambiguous with Alex on one side and want to marry me on the other, but people can't want everything. The price of greed is nothing. Now you are desperately entangled, probably not because you love me so much, but because you can't stand the things that originally belonged to you being taken away by someone you've always looked down upon. It's your jealousy and possessiveness at work. Lily screamed loudly, "No, it's not like that. I love you. I really love you." Compared to Lily's breakdown, I seemed incredibly calm and indifferent. "If you really love me, what about Alex? What does he count as?" Lily trembled and looked at Alex behind her now. The young man no longer had the spirit, only loss and sadness. She cried again, chokingly questioning me, "So you won't forgive me, will you?" Now when I see her sad and upset, my heart is without a ripple. I nodded without hesitation. In the spring 10 years ago, I met Lily in the park. I was wandering aimlessly in the corner with Chadar, my golden retriever. I don't know how long I had been playing when everything suddenly went dark in front of me, and I almost fell in a daze. The little girl in the princess dress gave me an orange-flavored candy, which gradually woke me up from the dimness. She smiled at me and reached out, asking, "Is it sweet?" I nodded, but what was sweet was not only that candy but also her dimples when she smiled and the ripples in my heart that couldn't calm down for a long time. That year, I was 13, and Lily was 11. 5 years later, I planted a garden of white tulips for Lily and designed a beautiful princess dress myself. I put a crown on her and dropped a light kiss on her cheek. "Lily, would you like to be my girlfriend?" What responded to me was her full smile and soft lips. Now, 10 years later, in deep autumn, we are going our separate ways. The new leaves that sprout in spring will eventually turn yellow in autumn and then disappear with the wind. After the new brand was established, the response was very good, so much so that I needed to work harder to create, often too busy to even eat. So on that day, I passed out due to low blood sugar. When I woke up, I was in the hospital, and the one by my side was Mia, who lived next door but I had never met. Seeing me wake up, she handed me a glass of water. "You're awake," she said, seeming to have something to say but stopping short. I took the glass of water and thanked her. "Thank you." When I set the glass down, I noticed a small cake on the side. Seeing my astonishment, Mia looked a little embarrassed. "Today is your birthday. I wanted to buy a cake for you, but I didn't expect to see you fainting at the front door. I had been so busy lately that I even forgot my own birthday." I didn't expect Mia to remember. Perhaps sensing my thoughts, Mia said lightly, "I always remember your birthday. The birthday gifts Lily gave you every year were prepared by me." I was shocked. The autographed photo of the designer I liked, the out-of-print music records, and the quota for becoming a top designer student all were gifts from Mia, prepared with great effort. I had mistaken them for Lily's gifts and treated her doubly well, giving her my most sincere feelings. I looked into Mia's eyes. "Why," Mia laughed softly. "She's a spoiled little princess. Where would she be willing to put so much thought into it? So she left it to me." Saying that, she paused, her earlobes tinged with a slight blush, her eyebrows curving like a crescent moon. "Being able to prepare birthday gifts for you makes me willing and happy." Such words made my heart soften. Mia tentatively held my hand. "Ethan, would you be willing to believe me once?" This time, I didn't let go of her hand. In the middle of the night, Mia knocked on my door, calling out in a languishing voice, "Brother-in-law, open the door. It's me, your sister." Such nonsense, it wasn't something she would normally say. She was drunk, but the drunk version of her was very much like a charming young girl in love, without her previous noble and cold demeanor. When I opened the door, I pinched her slender waist. "Mia, don't talk nonsense." Saying that, I kissed her lips forcefully. After a lingering moment, Mia sobered up, lying tiredly in my arms. "Ethan, I'm going abroad in a few days to participate in a design competition. If I can win, it will make my new brand more reputable." She nestled in my arms, but her hand was not honest, reaching into my clothes. "Okay." During the time I was abroad, Mia was not idle. I could always get news about her from the internet. For example, she had deposed her father, who was the chairman of the board, and sued him for embezzlement. For example, her stepmother made a scene at the company, cursing her, saying she was a black-hearted unfilial daughter who actually set up her own father. For example, after her father went to jail, she drove her stepmother and stepsister out of the house without giving them a penny, and to this day, her stepmother was still making a scene at the doorstep. But she never mentioned any of these news when she was video calling me. The side she showed me was always bright sunshine. 3 months later, my work won another award. The brand company held a grand celebration banquet for me. Mia, who had promised to attend the banquet with me, failed to show up. "Ethan, I have something to deal with at the company. I can't accompany you, I'm sorry." The moment I saw the message, my heart sank unconsciously. Past events surfaced in front of my eyes again. Lily was also like this in the past, missing my important moments time and time again, but accompanying other men. Am I going to repeat the same mistakes? I went to the celebration banquet in a daze, talking with my colleagues in a daze. "Ethan, do you know the behind-the-scenes investor of our brand is also coming today?" Look at you, what a big face you have. I was surprised. I didn't know that our sub-brand had a behind-the-scenes investor. I didn't know. Just as I was talking, the brand's general manager took the stage, and under her introduction, the lights gathered on the stairs on the second floor. That's how Mia appeared in front of me. The light followed her steps, bringing her step by step to me. She held a bunch of white tulips in her hand. Ethan, congratulations. Amidst the cheers, I took the bunch of white tulips. It was then that I realized the entire banquet venue was decorated with white tulips. I still remember a few years ago on Valentine's Day when Lily unusually gave me a bunch of red roses. She said that men could also have their own flowers. I accepted them with a bitter smile, and of course, Lily was happy. It was Mia who, as if by accident, bumped into me, knocking the red roses from my hand to the ground and stepping on them twice. She pretended to apologize, saying, "These red roses are very tacky. Ethan wouldn't mind, right?" After a short separation, Mia was very clingy. She leaned on my shoulder, smiling and asking if I wanted to hear her play the piano. At this time, the glow of the setting sun covered the earth, stretching our shadows long, tinged with the red of the sunset. Mia's slender fingers jumped agilely and calmly on the black and white keys, the flowing music almost making people's breath follow its rhythm. I seemed to see a thin soft light on Mia, and the white tulips on the piano were even more charming. I asked her how she knew I didn't like red roses. She pursed her lips and laughed. "Because the day Lily gave you red roses, you frowned." Unfortunately, Lily only immersed herself in her so-called giving and didn't really understand what you need, what you really like. She paused and leaned closer to me. "Ethan, I've told you before, you and her don't match." I was a little confused. "Mia, I really can't understand where your feelings for me come from." In my memory, Mia was always cold and aloof, indifferent to everyone. She seemed to have never looked at me straight. Occasional brushes passed, she just glanced lightly. Mia squeezed my hand, her voice choked a little. "Do you remember Chadar?" Chadar, the golden retriever I picked up, was also the first warmth of my lonely childhood. That day, I was mocked by other kids as a sickly child. No one wanted to play with me. They laughed and ran away, leaving me alone, sitting under the green shade. The laughter gradually disappeared from my ears, leaving only the faint sound of the wind. That's when Chadar appeared, wagging its little tail, smiling at me, and its wet little tongue gently licking the back of my hand. It seemed to tell me that I was not alone. I held it and looked around but couldn't find its owner, and it was especially clingy to me, so I adopted it and named it Chadar. Before Lily appeared, Chadar became my only playmate. Only it wouldn't laugh at me for being weak and wouldn't leave me alone to play. It was my most loyal companion, always by my side. But later, an accidental car accident took it away from me forever. Actually, Chadar was a gift from my mother. Mia's voice was very soft, but it felt like a loud noise emerging in the calm air. Unfortunately, my mother died in a car accident not long after she brought it home, and when that woman came in, she said she was allergic to dog hair and threw it away when I wasn't home. That day, I cried and looked for it in many places but couldn't find it until I accidentally saw you holding it in your arms, affectionately stroking its head. Then I understood you should be more suitable to be its owner than me. She sighed. What can a person who can't even protect herself use to protect what she wants to protect? So later, I often secretly went to see Chadar, watching you play with it on the grass. It was very happy, and you were also very happy. That kind of smile, I haven't had for a long time. Mia pinched my shoulder, leaving ambiguous traces on my neck. She said she knew me earlier than Lily. She said the orange-flavored fruit candy that Lily gave me at the beginning was taken by her. She said she had fallen in love with me a long time ago. We shared the same loneliness and warmth, making us the most suitable people for each other. She said, "Ethan, our fate has already begun." A passionate kiss fell on my face and lips, and also in my heart. I hugged her slender waist, taking the initiative. "You're right. The fishtail wedding dress goes well with my suit, and you are the most suitable person for that wedding dress." In the bridal shop, in front of the transparent and bright mirror, the girl in the white fishtail wedding dress was holding the man in the black suit. Under the soft light, the man's gaze fell on the woman, looking at her without moving for a moment. The tenderness in his eyes almost overflowed, making people feel that his heart and eyes were only for her. "Lily, let's get married," Mia said, her eyes sparkling with hope. "Ethan, this wedding dress, you look stunning in it," she added, her voice filled with excitement. As I gazed at her reflection in the mirror, I felt a warmth spread through me. The memories of the past began to fade, replaced by the promise of a new beginning. Mia stepped closer, her hand gently resting on my arm. "We can create our own story, one filled with love and understanding." I nodded, feeling a sense of clarity wash over me. "Yes, let's build a future together." The boutique was filled with soft light, illuminating the moment as we shared a smile that spoke volumes. It was a moment of hope, a moment of love, and a moment that marked the beginning of our journey together. With the wedding dress fitting behind us, we stepped out into the world, ready to embrace whatever came next, hand in hand. As we walked out of the boutique, the sun was setting, casting a warm glow over everything. The air was filled with a sense of possibility, and I could feel the excitement bubbling within me. Mia turned to me, her eyes sparkling with joy. "Ethan, I can't wait to start planning our wedding. We'll make it everything we've ever dreamed of." I smiled back, feeling a rush of happiness. "Yes, let's make it special just like us." We strolled through the park, the soft breeze rustling the leaves around us. It felt surreal, as if we were in our own little world, separate from everything else. Mia reached for my hand, intertwining our fingers. "You know, I've always admired your passion for design. It's inspiring to see how dedicated you are." I glanced at her, surprised by her words. "Thank you, Mia. That means a lot coming from you." She squeezed my hand gently. "I want to support you in every way I can. Your dreams are important to me." Her sincerity touched me deeply. I had never felt this kind of connection before, one built on mutual respect and understanding. As we continued walking, I shared my ideas for the wedding, and Mia listened intently, her enthusiasm infectious. "What if we incorporate elements from both our backgrounds? It would make it truly unique." I nodded, impressed by her creativity. "That's a great idea. We could blend traditions and create something that reflects who we are." Mia beamed at me, her smile lighting up her face. "I love that. It'll be a celebration of our love and our journey together." The more we talked, the more I realized how well we complemented each other. Mia's calm demeanor balanced my sometimes chaotic thoughts, and her insights brought clarity to my ideas. As we reached a small cafe, we decided to take a break and enjoy some refreshments. Sitting across from each other, I couldn't help but admire her. The way she spoke, the way she laughed, it all captivated me. "Mia, I'm really glad you're in my life," I confessed, my heart feeling full. She looked at me, her expression softening. "I feel the same way, Ethan. You've brought so much joy into my life." We shared a moment of silence, the connection between us deepening. It was as if we both understood that this was just the beginning of something beautiful. After finishing our drinks, we decided to take a walk along the waterfront. The sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink. "This is perfect," Mia said, gazing out at the water. "It feels like a scene from a movie." I chuckled. "It does, doesn't it? Just us, the sunset, and the promise of a bright future." Mia turned to me, her eyes reflecting the colors of the sky. "Ethan, I want to make every moment count. Let's cherish this time together." I nodded, feeling a surge of determination. "Absolutely. We'll create memories that will last a lifetime." As we walked side by side, I felt a sense of peace wash over me. The past was behind us, and the future was ours to shape. With each step, I knew we were building a foundation for a love that would withstand the test of time. Together, we would face whatever challenges lay ahead, hand in hand, ready to embrace the adventure of life. And as the stars began to twinkle above us, I realized that this was just the beginning of our story, a story filled with love, laughter, and endless possibilities.